item off of the consent agenda, you only need one board member to dissent. And so even if it comes to the agenda on the consent agenda, if one board member speaks up and says, I'm not going to consent to this, I want it pulled off, under the rules of the board, that has to be pulled off. And so even if I'm not able to persuade folks to take certain items off of the consent agenda going into the board meeting, I'm more than happy to dissent in the meeting and create an opportunity for discussion and to create an opportunity for educators and parents to come and speak and to hear what is going into that decision-making process. I think that allows for the transparency and community engagement that we've been missing.
Thank you, great question. You know, there's two different things here in this question. We talk about consent agenda, and anytime anything's on the agenda in an open school board meeting, there's an opportunity to vote. And so you don't have to vote yes as a board member and approve the consent agenda. And one dissenting member can vote out, and it can be subject to public discussion. But that's too late. The discussion needs to happen long before it ever gets into ink on an agenda anywhere. We need to engage the public. We need to engage educators, teachers, administrators in a way that it doesn't put them at odds. It's hard to get everybody in the room. We got a good turnout tonight. But we need to use social media, electronic media in a controlled way to endorse and to provide momentum for public engagement in a way that people can confidentially express their opinions, good, bad, or ugly, and give feedback to stakeholders before we ever put together a proposal or any kind of a policy. But consent agendas generally don't fall into that same dimension. They're sort of the redundant business that comes up every year, renewing things, but all of those deserve to have thought. Because what happens is if we glaze over the little details, things get missed. And I'm someone that's a very deep thinker, read a lot, and can read, will read everything to make sure it's appropriate.
I think I like what you said, Heather. I'm in agreement with that. I think things move too quickly too often. You know, the rezoning, maybe Cindy can shed some light on it. I'm not sure what the urgency was. We saw a classic example when Patty dissented and said, hey, maybe we should look at this a little bit more. I didn't think we'd have to do it the same week. You know, if somebody was going on vacation, she wasn't going to be here, so we got to get it done. That's stupid. It is. We need to take our time, look at stuff more closely. I mean, we're dealing with our children's futures. We're dealing with lives. You know, I realize you can only have limited discussion about some of this stuff outside of the public days, but folks, there's nothing that's got to be hurried along. You know, when you're making decisions in your house, you don't do it that way. If somebody comes and tells you you need a roof, it's going to cost you X number of thousands of dollars, you don't go, oh, got to get it done. You know, you find someone else to look at it too.
As an attorney, when I heard this question, I think there's two issues. The consent agenda and the transparency issue are distinct, yet somewhat intertwined. But the consent agenda, if it is a debatable item, if there's going to be any discussion concerning an item, it should not be on the consent agenda. It should be part of the open board meeting for discussion. The transparency issue, the Board of Education needs to implement procedures where their work sessions and their meetings, not just the boards, are open to the public. They should be open, they should be archived, they should be recorded. As an attorney, I have hearings recorded, I have depositions are recorded. A history is made of a case. Same should be with the board's decisions so that we understand how they arrived at that final decision that's made during a board meeting.
Consent agenda items are usually, as I say, non-debatable. At our last meeting, we tried a little bit different approach to it, and Dr. Southwick gave some explanations of some items that were on there, but none of them were truly debatable. When you ask how we receive our information on that, we have information provided on our weekly agenda. You talk about demographics and making decisions about where kids go to school and boundaries. This is the kind of information we get on everything like that. It is studied, it is reviewed, and it is looked at. And good sound common sense is what looks at it. And I know people say, why do you have to have a schedule? Because booklets come out, policy booklets come out, children want to know where they're going to go, parents want to know where their children are going to go. And if we don't let them know ahead of time, they can't make the arrangements that they need to make. If they want to move, they may need time to do that. If they want to stay in that area and they have some other concerns, those things can be addressed in a timely manner. But many of the things we do have a schedule based on publication or numbers or communication with parents about what is going on in the system so they can plan their year for their children and their family.
Thank you. The next question will begin with Mr. Roberge. Do you believe teachers should be given the latitude to develop their own material and curriculum, or should they primarily follow district-designed formulae? Please explain your reasoning.
Great question. My mother was an art teacher in the district, and in terms of creating your own curriculum, one of the things about the Shawnee Mission School District, I have a lot of faith in the teachers. Because they take whatever they got, whatever funding, whatever new program, and they make it work. And they've done this consistently for years. And I think the thing is, we have so many different ways to measure performance, but the teachers need the tools to be effective. And we're just kind of, if they've got the license certification, we kind of throw them in there. So we have to let teachers have the flexibility to teach. That's the difference between really a teacher and an educator, right? Is it's a gift. And it's sort of like teaching someone to be in one of the highest paid occupations in this country, a professional entertainer, a professional athlete. You can't teach talent. And that's what true teachers have. So we have to let them use it. We've got to give them the tools that they need.
Do I believe they should be given the latitude to develop their own curriculum? I'd say all curriculum that's developed needs to be studied. I mean, you can't just let someone go in there and do what they want to do. I can't do that at work. Can any of you? I mean, you got a job to do, someone's got to be in charge. There's accountability. However, that doesn't mean we should handcuff teachers, right? We've got teachers that are capable of bringing something different to the table. I still have relationships with teachers that taught me many years ago. Because teachers don't just give instruction in the classroom, teachers also give life instruction. Now, I have a teacher that lives right next door to me, and boards set policy. Boards can set all the policy they want. But you know what policy doesn't account for? Policy doesn't account for things like abuse in the home. Policy doesn't account for poverty. And teachers need to have latitude when they're dealing with unique situations in the classroom. Not every student's the same. Sometimes they have to reach out to a student, put an arm around a student, be a second parent, maybe be the only adult role model in that child's life. So yeah, I think teachers should be given a lot of latitude.
As a daughter and daughter-in-law of educators and a parent of children who have had excellent teachers in this district, I respect the education and the experience that our teachers bring to the classroom. And I also understand that curriculums are in place to provide benchmarks for our teachers. As a parent of two very different learners, as some of you may relate to, I respect and value a teacher to be able to adapt their way of teaching to meet that curriculum. And so I respect them for being able to do that and encourage that. Thank you.
We on the board value every teacher that we have. They're the ones that are closest to our children, your children, the community's children. I have 4 grandsons in public school, so I do have some insight as to a great part of this. But we certainly have standards that we have to meet based on what the state tells us and what the federal government tells us. Beyond that, we have the option within the district to set curriculum. And that is our ability for our teachers to have their voice heard. Our teachers sit in on those committees and help design programs and the curriculum within a classroom. And I am glad they have that ability. I'm currently reading a book called Driven that we're going to look at on a retreat. And what it says is you need to allow that flexibility because it lets the teacher, who is the professional, relate information in a very positive, progressive way that allows all of their children to learn. And I can tell you, children in a classroom today are not individuals. Every one of them has an IEP or a plan for them to be successful. And we as a district have to allow that to grow as long as we are meeting the standards that we are required to meet.
So the benefits of having the same curriculum is that all of the kids in the district, no matter what school they're at, no matter how much money their PTA can raise, each of those kids has the opportunity to the same information as their peers. And we really need to make sure that nobody is left behind and nobody is getting treated in a manner that because of their context or because of their situation, they don't have access to certain perks that maybe wealthier schools might have through the benefit of their PTA. However, that being said, each classroom is its own environment, each classroom is its own culture based on the personalities of the little people that are in there, and I do trust the educators that are leading that classroom to know when there might be an opportunity to do something better or do something differently so that the kids in that room benefit more, and I believe that that's important to have that flexibility and to trust the educators to do that.
Thank you. This next question will start with Mr. Shepard. Earlier this year, there was a controversy regarding teachers' choice to wear safety pins. Please describe whether you believe the district, in your opinion, handled this matter correctly and why or why not.
As I recall, the safety pins were to alert the teacher, alert the students that that teacher's classroom or that teacher was a safe place, safe person, right? Is that what it was? Cindy, can you help me with that? I'm not even sure why we're talking about it. Every teacher should be a safe teacher. Every place in the school should be a safe place. Now, as far as district employees following the rules within the district, I talked about that before. You know, I go to work every day, and somebody tells me what to do or what I can't do. You know, right now I don't have a boss in front of me, but there is an organizational chart. And if somebody up in that organizational chart says don't do this, guess what I'm not going to do? That's just the way it works. That's structure in society. I mean, there is a certain protocol to be followed. Now, I understand that people are passionate when things happen, and you can do things outside of the school, but, I mean, the lesson that you teach the children is supposed to be that we follow the rules of society. Certain rules are there for protective reasons. And I think that thing just got way blown out of proportion.
So I come at this from the perspective of an attorney, and to the extent that the safety pin is considered speech. Both teachers and students have a right to free speech until it's determined that it's disruptive. And in this case, based on the information that I had and the information that was presented, I didn't see that it was disruptive. But I do respect the fact that teachers and students have a right to free speech.
Thank you. This was a very tough issue because I think teachers wanted to do the right thing, but the understanding was that some kids, seeing the safety pins, did not feel safe. So it took it out of that free speech. And we had kids who complained and went to counselors. And so there were different points of view. But the true issue came down to the letter that was written to all NEA staff and staff in Shawnee Mission. That letter was written by NEA leadership. It cleared their regional director. It was put out by NEA. They wrote everything and we put it in just as they had written it. Now, could that information have been shared differently? Possibly. Maybe a better part on the board's part, but also on the NEA leadership part. So there's great division over this particular, but it did lead to people having a feeling of, am I safe or am I not safe?
So as a parent, I'm going to say that there are times my kids do something and rather than even address the issue because I know if I'm going to address it, it's going to make a bigger deal out of it, I'm just going to overlook it and say, you know what, we're not going to mess with this because if we take a stand on this particular issue, it's going to be bigger than it would have been. And I think that the First Amendment right to free speech is absolutely paramount, and I don't think that there was any harm in anybody wearing a safety pin. I think that making a stink about it exacerbated the issue and drew negative attention to the district, and I don't think that it was worth the time and effort that everybody had to put into it. I think that had it been let go, it would have dropped eventually, and since it wasn't let go and everyone had to take off their safety pins, some teachers felt like under duress, which I think is somewhat silly. It was just a safety pin. And they were around long before the election. It was started in Europe in like 2000 or something as a symbol for immigrants that they would be safe. So in any event, I would not have voted or supported taking away a teacher's ability to wear a safety pin. Thanks.
Wow. You've got to be smarter than a fifth grader here. I mean, this is the difference between doing what's right and doing the right thing, right? We have to encourage people to use critical thinking and understand the safety pin is not a threat, and I'm not talking TSA going on an airplane here type of thing, but it's not a threat. The fact, it should be, the last question, do teachers, should they have latitude in their classroom? Yes. This should have been a teacher's choice, a facility administrator, a principal's choice. If there's certain students that are complaining, have a problem with it, we need to talk to them and help them understand why it's okay. All right? It has to do with cohesion and not just squashing the bug. Okay? Institutionalism is important. It's one of the most important things that families get from schools. But we need to be able to be rational and sort of step back and look at these things. And it's not a matter of keeping people quiet. You know, censorship and propaganda is not privacy protection or protection from our enemies, domestic, foreign, or otherwise. We need to talk about these things if there's controversy, so everyone's opinion gets heard, and that's just my opinion.
We're 5 questions in. This is a friendly reminder that if you have your own questions, we are collecting those. I already have several up here ready to go, and I believe we're collecting more. So if you have not written a question yet, you still have time. You can pass them over to my right or right there. Just to the ends of your aisles, we'll pick those up, and we'll start your questions in just a bit. Back to the questions that have been pre-written for us. We'll start with Ms. Hunter on this one. Please describe the role or influence, if any, you believe local businesses should have in district curriculum and programming.
I'm a small business owner. My husband is also a small business owner. We're lucky to have such an engaged community of businesses in the Shawnee Mission area. The Shawnee Mission School District has signature programs, and they are amazing. Some of them are made possible through partnerships with our local businesses. To the extent that they can be a part of a signature program, to the extent that a business owner or a community leader can be a part of an advisory board that I would like to implement within the school district, I think that those partnerships are invaluable.
Our businesses are some of our best partners, without a doubt. They are our mentors. They come in and help us with program design. We have programs in our signature program that have to do with engineering, biotechnology. We have our bistro here, and we couldn't do it without our business partners. Those business partners meet with us on a regular basis and outline the kind of skills and the needs of the people that they need to hire. One of the big issues has been soft skills, the ability to speak to one another, the ability to communicate. Those are skills that businesses have said are lacking the most. Those are some of the hardest to teach. I would invite any of you to come look at our signature programs. We have Project Lead the Way, which is engineering, some fantastic programs here. In fact, we have one junior who is at Shawnee Mission West, who just won first in the science project looking for ways to diagnose Parkinson's through taping it. And I can tell you, it's been a great success. So, as I said, our business partnerships are some of our best and provide us with some of our brightest mentors.
I appreciate the contributions of our local business partners. They're employed by people who have kids in the district. They hope to employ people who graduate from the district. They're members of our community, and so they should be engaged. I'm also very acutely aware of the fact that there is a strong push towards privatizing everything and anything related to education, especially from the federal level at this time under Secretary DeVos. And so I'm very leery of anything that has to do with speaking with regards to implementing anything that has a business mindset. I would want to make sure that we were very, very careful in analyzing what it was, just to be on our guard. Whether it be from education consultants selling ideas or folks trying to sell certain types of curriculum, everybody wants to make money off of it because there's money to be made. And so in that respect, I appreciate their input, I appreciate their contributions, as long as they're coming at it from the perspective of we're doing what's best for our kids, we're doing what's best to make sure that our kids receive a solid foundation, no matter what career they want to go into, no matter what school they want to go to. Each kid needs to have that opportunity without it being tethered to someone else's idea of what their life should be.
Great question. First of all, I think what we're talking about here is businesses with more than 15 employees, right? Not small businesses or even really kind of medium, large businesses, ones with the money, because we need revenue and we need engagement. When I worked as a OJT coordinator and cohort career training instructor with the Missouri Department of Labor and the Workforce Investment Boards, I'm very familiar with the Workforce Investment Opportunity Act and all of the great programs that are out there that encourage businesses to engage this thing that I found when I worked with the Palo Education Group as a reentry representative. There's a connection between academic goals and occupational goals. And it sort of leads to the third leg on the stool, which is financial stability, right? And so we need to start these connections very, very early. ONET, which is Department of Labor, knows every occupation that's ever been in this country exists now and will exist in the future. They know all the things that those people do and the characteristics of those jobs. And we've known this for 50 years. We can develop through different types of testing, okay? Different than AP, but we can use CLEP, we can use other college-oriented things to help students really develop an occupational goal when they're in kindergarten, that they can change but continue. So when they graduate from high school, they go into secondary education, there's connection there.
Okay, this is one of the things that I've enjoyed researching the most in this campaign is the tie to the businesses. Because that's what we're preparing students for, what they're going to do later in life. And so I reached out to some business leaders and sat down with them. The first person I sat down with was Art Crosby Kemper III, and he gave me a generous amount of his time, and we discussed some of the things that kids are lacking first, and some of the things that kids may need second. I reached out to Dr. Aitken, one of the largest employers in the county here is the school district, and we discussed some of the things that kids are lacking first, and then the things that they may need in the future. Look, our world's changing. You know, our kids should all probably be coding. We should be teaching them things that are going to prepare them for the future workforce right now. A lot of the things we're teaching them are going to be obsolete by the time they get their diplomas. And keyboard, that's something that's a thing of the past pretty soon. Mouse pad too. And the soft skills that Cindy mentioned, that's what I'm hearing from the business leaders. Showing up to work on time. Being able to look someone in the eye and have a conversation. That's what our kids are lacking. Writing. Go to JCCC. They all have to take Comp 1 and 2 because kids can't write now.
Thank you very much. The next question will begin with Ms. Neighbor. What role do you believe the board can play in ensuring the district can attract and retain high-quality, experienced teachers?
I think that everybody will tell you money to start with, but one of the things we know is that Shawnee Mission at this time, today, is at the top of the pay scale for teachers, which we are very proud of. But can we do better? Can we do more? That is always our intent. But one of the things we have to look at too is mentoring and providing our first through third year teachers mentors. We do have a mentoring program. They need support as far as technology training is concerned, new teachers coming out on programs and expectations. And those are things that we value in service for our teachers when needed, especially if we're doing something on curriculum. And letting them participate in all that. But teachers are going to look at money, benefits, what do we do in mentoring them, and what are we providing them to support their classroom in the best way they can.
So money and benefits are obviously a priority. I wouldn't have my job if they didn't pay me to be there. In addition to that, though, there is a real need to build trust back between the administration and the educators in our community. We've lost a lot of experienced educators over the last few years because retirement was incentivized so that we could save money, and so we had a batch of retirements go through, and we lost those folks with, institutional knowledge of what it meant to work in the district. And then in addition to that, we've lost folks because they have gone elsewhere to make more money. They've gone to Blue Valley, they've gone to Nebraska, they've gone to Missouri, and there's several educators who've left our community either because they're working more hours or because they don't feel appreciated. Feeling appreciated is vital, and feeling like they can speak out on issues and not face repercussions for speaking out on those issues is also vital. I know that there are teachers who are afraid to raise their concerns with the districts because they think they're going to get pushback from the board. I know teachers that did, in fact, get pushback from the administration when they spoke out on issues. And so we need to redevelop a community that allows for that constructive criticism and allows for communication between teachers and the administration so that they can feel like they're being heard and that their input is being taken into consideration when policy changes are made. And I think that would go a long way to help build that community that we knew under Dr. Kaplan, where she would go and develop for teachers to find out what was happening in their classroom and when she had monthly meetings with educators in the district. Thanks.
Okay, Odette says in job, search or in employment, there's two things, kind of like two sides of a coin. One is the requirements, right? Those are things we do over and over again all day long, right? The other side of the coin, though, is probably more important. That's why people go to work for a certain organization or get in a certain occupation, or an organization hires someone. And those are called the characteristics of the job. It's more important what the organization stands for. If you see the world the way they do, you have a better chance of staying with that company. So we've got good pay, good perks. I think we're talking about teachers here. Administrators, I think it's way over the top, okay? That's my opinion, all right? But it's more important the work environment where we work, and so we could pay all the money in the world, but if people don't feel like they're appreciated, they're empowered, it's not a good thing. And we need to work in every position in the district, from the superintendent right down. Resources we have right now in Kansas, we're number 5 out of the Kansas school districts. We need to work with organizations like the KSB, the Kansas Association of School Boards. We've never done a leadership search with them. They charge peanuts to do it. We're probably, I don't know how much we're spending. I don't even think we've started a superintendent search. We've got a superintendent, right?
As far as recruiting, I think first place you start is with the colleges. You go out and you take a look at those practicums, you take a look at the test scores and the successes coming from certain universities, and you recruit there. As far as retaining, we got a morale issue right now in the district with teachers. I'm not sure all of the aspects, but I can tell you, when you start to lump more on, have greater expectations, put more pressure on people, and not a lot of positive changes for them to see in the future outlook, bad things happen. People take off. But we've been fortunate where my girls go to school at Rose Hill. Anna Salgado, she came in and she was Teacher of the Year. So we got her to come. And we've had a pretty positive experience as far as our family goes within the district at our schools. We have a great relationship with the teachers, and we listen to them. I'm not certain that the board listens as well as it should. Cindy mentioned the zoning thing and giving information to parents. I was talking about, Cindy, what was the urgency in getting it done this year? I've got a few teachers that have told me they're not real pleased with that.
Our teachers are a foundation of the school district. When I hear about a teacher who I consider excellent, when I hear that they're looking at another school district because of factors within this school district and they're looking to make a change, it is disheartening. The board has responsibilities. The board needs to hire a superintendent that will listen, that fosters that collegial environment and supports our teachers. We need to practice early recruitment of our teachers. We need to get in at the ground level when they're in school